Hello, everyone. My name is Nathan Merkel. Welcome to Sports Stories, the podcast. This Sports Catered podcast will discuss different stories that we as humans have experience in, with, and through sports. Hopefully, providing context to the following questions. What makes sports so special? And how do sports impact us as humans? I'll dive headfirst into these questions through some critical conversations with a wide variety of guests on the show. With my current background in research and academia, I'll be looking to bridge the gap between practicality and research. I truly hope you enjoy the show. Thank you. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Sports Stories, the podcast. I'm really excited about this episode. I've got an old coworker / boss of mine from my past. His name is Kevin Sneed. He is a senior director of student recreation activities at Broward College in South Florida. Kevin, thank you so much for joining, and it's great to see you.
Nathan, thank you for having me, and it's good to see you again.
Yeah. So I'd love to start off this episode just by asking you, like, what your story is, and maybe how you got to where you're at right now, and if you could paint us a picture.
Well, I grew up in Ohio, and I went to the University of Toledo to get my bachelor's degree. I switched my major a few different times because I didn't know what I wanted to do. But as a freshman in college, I started working for the intramural program there. Now, when I was in high school, for my volunteer senior project, what I did was I officiated kids basketball games. So I played sports in high school. I did some officiating my senior year of high school. And when the opportunity came to work for intramural sports, I jumped at that opportunity. So I started with officiating basketball, and that led into officiating everything: basketball, flag football, volleyball, soccer, anything and every sport we had at Toledo, I officiated. And I did that for a couple years. I got promoted to a supervisor position. I did that for a couple years. And then my fifth and final year, I got promoted to the intramural undergraduate assistant. So that was my first time working in the office doing the administrative work. And even in my fifth year, I still wasn't sure exactly what I wanted to do with my career. And my boss at that time said, "Hey, there are careers in collegiate recreation." And I was like, wait, what? So he took me and another student to Indiana University to a student lead on a NERSA. NERSA is our professional organization. It stands for National Intramural Recreational Sports Association. He took me to my first one at Indiana University. And that's when I discovered, oh, wow, this is so much bigger than just what we had at the University of Toledo. And I discovered internships and graduate assistantships and what a career could be. So after I got my degree at UT, I did a year-long internship at the University of South Carolina in their recreation department, but specifically their intramural program. That was a 1-year internship, and then I was looking for a graduate assistantship. So I found one at the University of Central Missouri, and I spent 2 years there getting my master's. So I have a master's degree in exercise science. And after the 2 years there, I was fortunate that we just opened a brand new 70,000 square foot, beautiful, beautiful recreation center. So I graduated, we opened it, a job opened up, and I was able to take that. And I spent the next 13 years as the assistant director of intramural and recreational sports at UCM. And I left UCM a couple years ago now, and I moved down here to South Florida after I met my amazing now wife. For some reason, she didn't want to come to Missouri. I didn't understand that. She wanted me to come down to South Florida. So I did that. And, looking for another job, it's not the easiest thing, but Broward College. I live in Broward County in South Florida, which is just north of Miami-Dade County. And I'm looking for jobs, and I saw they had an academic advisor position. I applied. I worked as an academic advisor at Broward College for just under a year. And then I saw they posted a new position, Senior Director of Student Recreation Activities. This is a new position. Broward College eliminated all athletics and sports and recreation during COVID. So they haven't had anything. And they've heard from the students, what do you want? We want sports. What do you want? We want recreation. What do you want? We want intramurals. So the leaders, the board, the vice president, the president, they recognized that. So they created this position and I applied and I have now been in this new position for about 3 months. So long story, not so short. That's how I got to where I am today.
Yeah, that's a wonderful story and actually a blast from the past because I actually also did my master's degree. For those out there, Kevin and I's timelines align very well. I was actually Kevin's graduate assistant. Oh gosh, when was it? 2020 to 2022. I think those are the years. Is the beautiful years of COVID, and I was the grad assistant underneath Kevin at Central Missouri, and that is actually how we met and created this
Well,
friendship.
we met
Well,
before
yeah,
that.
yeah, we did. I was, yeah, actually, it's really funny hearing your story because I think I actually followed almost the exact same path. So I transferred to UCM, I started officiating, and I was like, "Ooh, this is fun. Let's be a supervisor." And you're like, "Oh, let's do more work." And I'm like, "Yeah, let's do it."
Mm,
And
yeah.
so, and then, yeah, here we are. It's really funny. And when you actually mentioned NERSA, it made me think about when we went to NERSA. We went to DC, Washington DC for NERSA, and
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I think that was really fun when you mentioned going to conferences and things like that. I remember we went to DC for that conference, and the exact same thing that you're describing is like, wow, okay, at UCM we play intramural sports and we think it's this really, oh, it's just flag football, it's fun, whatever. But like we went to DC and it's this national organization. It's such a large, so much more bigger than you think. And like I didn't even know it either, but universities send teams out to different schools for tournaments and things like that. And so I think that's a really cool, just kind of like unknown area of collegiate recreation. And so that was really cool to sort of think blast from the past there, looking back at NERSA and going to DC.
And it's so cool because recreation, it's so big. It's so much more than just sports. It's so much more than just intramurals. Recreation, yes, it's intramural sports. Yes, it's club sports, but it's also fitness and wellness. It's also facility management. It's also outdoor recreation. So there's a lot of different aspects of recreational sports. So
Mm-hmm.
I was able to meet and learn from others in the intramural and club sport field, but there's also other professionals. If you love outdoors and camping and taking trips and rock climbing, there are professionals that do that for a living, organize backpacking trips for a living. So it's there's so much more than just the sports aspect when you're talking about recreation.
Right. Yeah, I completely agree. And it's really cool because the rec department at UCM had an individual hired for outdoor rec pursuits. His name is Jeremiah. I'm not sure if he's still there, but
He is
um,
not.
I, I had no idea that outdoor rec and pursuits was involved in this intramural department and student activity, all these things. And he's like, "Yeah, we do camping activities, all this stuff. We do all these things. We offer rental gear for backpacking." I'm like, "Whoa!" Like I had no idea this existed. And I remember at UCM we had this crazy like basement locker room kind of thing with a bunch of kayaks and canoes and a bunch of storage and backpacking tents and all these things. I'm like, whoa, like how come I feel like I've never heard of this. And all feel like I knew was like, oh yeah, we play softball, we play flag football. But like you said, there's fitness, there's the facilities aspect, there's the outdoor, there's and the club sports and the intramurals. And so there's so much more to it. And I'm just curious if you could, I know you said you just started your role about 3 months ago, so I know you're a bit fresh, but I'm wondering if you could share a little bit of what your daily life looks like in this role, what sort of responsibilities you have, and what that sort of looks like.
Well, the unique thing about Broward College is there are three main campuses. Now, frankly, I think there's six different campuses in total, but three main campuses, a north, a central, and a south. And there are professionals that work on every single campus. For example, I was an academic advisor at the North Campus. I am now located at the Central Campus. The Central Campus is the biggest, it is the quote unquote main campus, if you will. But the unique challenge that I am tasked with is providing recreational opportunities to all three different campuses. And a big reason why that is so, it is a challenge, is that there are different facilities at all three campuses. So at the Central Campus, we have a very nice gym. We can play indoor sports, basketball and volleyball and different things like that. The North Campus, they don't have a gym. They do not have an indoor gym. Now they have an outdoor basketball court that we can play on, but there's
Hmm.
literally no indoor gym that we can play. The South Campus, they do have an older gym. However, that gym has classrooms in it, and it's actually contracted out to a small private K through 12 school, so we can't even get in there for the majority of the day. So right now, in my current role, that it's June, I am preparing for the fall semester. So I am preparing leagues, I am preparing tournaments, I am organizing recreational activities, I am getting the calendar ready, I am ordering equipment based on what I think our future needs will be across all three campuses. I'm also hiring staff that can or that will be working those events as well. So it's very different than UCM. UCM, I knew what we were going to do. We had grass fields, we had softball fields, we had the indoor basketball courts. I knew a general format. It was established before I got there. I took it over, I made tweaks, I tried to make it better. Okay, here I'm starting from scratch. I'm
Hmm.
starting from scratch. I'm throwing things out there. We're going to see what sticks and we're going to see what doesn't stick. And that's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay if we offer something and if it fails, that's okay. We
Hmm.
tried it, it didn't go, we learn, we ask the students what they want, and then we make a change and we adjust for the next semester. So I'm still very much in the learning and preparing process here at Broward
Yeah,
College.
that's really cool. I'm really curious. What are some, I guess, just tentative thoughts on like a program that you're looking to implement? You said you maybe are getting some feedback from students. Do you have any like
Yep.
any thoughts of a specific program that fits what Broward can offer?
Another unique thing is that it is Broward College now. It used to be Broward Community College. So it used to only offer 2-year Associate of Arts and Associate of Science degrees. And for the most part, that's still the majority of what it offers. But there are
Hmm.
some bachelor's degrees. There's no on-campus students. There's no dorms, there's no res halls. Every single student is a commuter. So the campus after 3 o'clock is whew, it is quiet. So I'm trying to program during the afternoon, 1 through 4 o'clock. Now, Nathan, did we ever play any intramurals between 1 and 4 in the afternoon at UCM?
No, never.
Right. When
Yeah.
Nathan, what time was all of our intramurals we had at UCM?
It's usually from depending on league size, it would maybe start 5 p.m. and at midnight on weeknights.
Yeah, and because the students lived on campus.
Right.
So the administration at UCM wanted night activities because they lived there. They wanted them doing things, productive things, healthy things, fun things. At Broward College, they're not there. Once they leave campus, they're not coming back, especially because, how do I put it? The traffic down here is little different than what we had at
Yeah.
UCM.
Right.
So one of the challenging things is capturing while they are on campus. So and using the facility. So the central, that's easy. I have a gym. We're going to play basketball. We're going to play volleyball. Now I don't have a good outside grass space. So I'm trying to be creative of what we can do with our outdoor flag football, maybe even some outdoor volleyball. So trying to be creative. They love basketball and they love volleyball, but I want to offer soccer. I want to offer other sports as well. And we're going to offer leagues, but I also want to offer like 1 day drop in activities. Like Mondays is going to be our Recreation Monday. Stop by at noon And this Monday, we're going to have a cornhole tournament. The next Monday, we're going to have a ping pong tournament. The following Monday, we're going to have a pool tournament. So I'm trying to give structured, longer 5-6 week leagues, and then these 1 day quick hitter type things as well.
Yeah. Yeah. That the one thing that popped in my head, I think the only time I remember ever working from like between 1 and 4 with an event was the ping pong tournaments we had. That was in the lobby of the fitness center at UCM, and that was always between 1 and 4 because it was just ping pong, and it was simple for students to come in and just play and go. It's maybe 20 minutes, if that.
Quick. Yep.
Yeah, very quick, very easy tournament style, and that was like I think the only time it was ever between 1 and 4. It's always something to midnight. So there's always something to midnight. That's how it always was.
Not here. Not now.
Yeah.
Maybe in a few years, if we can grow the program, maybe we can extend it later past 4 o'clock, right? But we got to take baby steps first.
Yeah, like you said, I think that's a cool vision. Maybe down the road, like, do you see a moment maybe in 10 years where you might have late night basketball tournaments or something? I mean, traffic dependent. I know traffic in Florida is a bit different than Missouri. I know you're having to drive to school. I remember you actually rode your bike to campus in Missouri. It was like a 5 minute, if that 5 minute bike ride. And now you're like maybe an hour long car ride, if that. I don't know if it's longer or shorter, but so maybe traffic dependent.
Those were good bike rides. And Warrensburg is a pretty small town. Even if you don't live on campus, you live off campus, you're only a couple blocks away. Where Broward County is a huge county.
Mm-hmm.
It's massive. So, I mean, somebody could be driving 30 minutes every day to get to campus. And if their class is done at 1 o'clock and they drive 30 minutes home to get them back later, that's could they come back? Sure. But what are the chances? Where at UCM, if somebody lives 2 blocks away, it takes them 5 minutes to get to the facility. That's a little different.
Yeah, maybe this might be a pipe dream. Maybe down the road you could have like very far down the road, you could just like use other gyms in different locations, but then you'd have to know where people live in order to offer that, and that would create a logistical like nightmare. But hopefully
part of the growth program. So when I applied for the job and I interviewed, I had to give a 3-year growth program, how we could build it over the 3 years. And one of the things I talked about was if we outgrow the space we have right now, we can look into local partnerships. We can look into local community centers or local YMCAs or places that have those facilities that maybe we don't have, or maybe we do have it, but we just need more. So that's absolutely a part of the growth plan. But we got to start. I don't want to say start from the bottom, but we got to build to that. We got to scale it up.
That's really cool that unfortunately, it's not cool, but unfortunately that Broward had to dismantle their athletic program because of COVID. But it's really cool to see that students, made their voices heard, and they said, we want rec, which we want some form of something, some form of activity for us to do. And I think that's really, really cool to see that students want to be involved on campus. And so I think that's a sign that, if you do build this program, maybe there will be incentive, and maybe there will be a desire for students to want to go to these places to play and compete and have fun.
I want to just add real quick. It's amazing that the students voice their opinion, and it just speaks to how good Broward College is that the leadership listened to the students.
Right.
Because the leadership doesn't always listen to them about everything. So they made their opinions heard, and it went up the chain, the associate vice president, the president, the board, and then they put money behind it to support the students. So it's just fantastic, the leadership at Broward College and how they are listening to the students.
I agree, is extremely important. And one thing I'm actually really curious, this doesn't relate to students' voices. I was just really curious when you mentioned some of these things, and I wrote down this question. But when I was younger, I was always curious, like how rec programs, the facilities and things like that, how do they generate revenue? And I know that a portion of the tuition goes into the rec programs and facilities fees, but do fitness programs and facilities and rec, do you also rent spaces out for people to come in and drive extra revenue? I'm just curious if you could talk a little bit about that.
Generally, they're not going to make much money. They can bring some money in, but the operating costs are pretty much always going to far exceed any revenue they can actually bring in. And that's because, for the most part, everything is funded by student fees. So a student goes to college, they're paying, I don't know, let's just say easy math, $100 per credit hour. You take a 3 credit hour class, that's $300 for a 3 credit class. A portion of that goes directly to the student activity fee. And that funds a lot of different things, not just intramurals and not just recreation, but that is one aspect of it. So our budget, what I had at UCM, and I'm still learning the budget here at Broward, but it was directly tied to student enrollment. So the more students that we have, the more activity fees that we can use. Now, yeah, UCM, we had some fees. We had some fees for intramurals and fitness classes and things like that to make a little bit of money. But, if I'm bringing in, and it was maybe in intramurals, I bring in $8,000 a year on registration fees, but I'm spending $25,000 a year just on paying the student officials. So we would always lose money. It's about providing a service with those programs that we have. Now, when you talk about renting facility space, at UCM, we had a specific department that worked with the entire campus. So if they wanted to rent, the rec center for an after prom event, which happened every single year, they would work with meetings and conference services. They would have a dedicated employee. They would pay a rate, and part of that rate went to the university itself, and part of it also went to the rec center as well. Now, what is unique at Broward, we're not charging fees for anything. So there is no fee to play intramural sports. There's no fee for the fitness classes. Everything is just already included in the price with their student activity fee.
I'm curious, do you think that's a better model? Like how I remember at UCM, like flag football was like 50. I don't know if this is probably not right, but it was like $50.
It was $35, but it was close.
35. It was close. $35 for a team.
Yeah.
And I know it's really cheap, but like, do you think having that price point for recreation for these sort of offerings, is that important? Like, do you think that's important, or what are your thoughts on like having the free programming?
Well, it's a little too early to tell for me at Broward College. I can answer that better after the fall semester, right?
Yeah.
But thinking about it, there's pros and cons. The pro to it, you charge a small fee, $35, $50 for a team that has 7 people on it. That's not a lot of money, all things considered, and it gives them an incentive to show up every week. I paid money. I want to be there. Okay. If they're free, yeah, I could sign up. But if I don't feel like going, if I'm busy, I didn't pay anything, so it doesn't matter if I don't go. So it's not, charging the fee isn't necessarily about making the money. It is more about just having a little bit of accountability to those students, to those teams, to make sure they show up. Because it always, you know how it is. It's not fun for the other team. You're on a team, Nathan, you're excited to go play flag football. Where my team, we're like, we don't feel like going. You show up, you're ready to play, and then my team doesn't show, and you're like, oh, man, it's disappointing. So
Yeah.
Pros and cons to both ways. When it's free, there's no barrier. We all know life is getting expensive, right? We all know that. So if we can offer free programs to encourage students to sign up and show up so they don't have any type of barrier, that is fantastic as well. So you can make the argument both ways, but I'll have a better answer in about 6 months after the fall semester.
Well, maybe the next time we do this episode on Collegiate Rec, you'll be able to answer that. But that was really interesting when you said that, because it made me think of like the the sort of dichotomy relationship between the players and the officials, because I remember when I was officiating, I loved to forfeit,
Yeah.
because like we still got paid for the forfeit. We
Yeah.
got paid by the hour, and so as the official, you're like, oh, this is great. I have kind of an hour off from managing college students yelling at me for flag football. But as the player, I'm like, oh man, like you said, I'm upset, I'm sad, I wanted to play. This is so fun. But then the official's like, yes, we can chill for a bit. And that makes me think, like, actually, when I worked in Memphis, I basically did recreation, but it was for the city of Memphis. And so it was more government funded than collegiate funded. And Memphis actually provided free activities and sports, much like you do at Broward. And it actually ran into the exact problem that you're saying here, is about accountability. And I vividly remember a parent, like their team just forfeited, and he showed up, but the other team didn't, or the other like players didn't. And I was like, out of curiosity, can I ask, like, why do you think people aren't showing up? And he was like, well, man, it's because it's free. He was like, literally said, we don't have skin in the game, so people don't really care. And I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
well, now that makes a lot of sense with the $35 fee. You're like, it's not really about the fee. It's more about accountability. And like for college students, $5 for 7 people, that's not bad, you know? And I think that's really cool to see, just like offering rec and rec programs and how to like entice people. Maybe like a $5 just fee will help, because it's got some form of like accountability to it, which is really interesting.
The way that we are going to entice students for the fall semester is by prizes.
Mm-hmm.
Prizes. Um, Now, as you know, we gave out intramural champ shirts at UCM, and the students love that. And I'm
Yeah, they're
still going
dipped
to
in
do that at
gold.
Broward College. I'm still going to do that at Broward College, but I'm looking at other things that we can provide and offer, and maybe not just for first place, right? Obviously, first place is going to get the best. Can we have a runner up second place? Can we have a third place prize? Can we have other prizes? So yeah, all right. They didn't spend any money to show up, but if they know, hey, man, there's some couple good prizes for winning, and there's some other things I have. I'm thinking about doing, seeing if I can implement about a team of the year or an intramural player of the year by showing up to the
Oh,
most games or playing the most sports or things like that. So, there's the carrot or the stick. I guess the stick is pay the money, you forfeit, you owe us a forfeit fee. Where the carrot is, hey, maybe besides just a shirt, you can get. Oh, I can't say anything right
yeah, you
now,
get
right?
other
But
stuff.
maybe,
Yeah,
yeah, other stuff. So trying to entice them. So that's
yeah.
that's how I'm going to try to do it for the fall semester, by enticing them with good prizes at the end.
Yeah, I love that. That's really cool. And that transitions really well into this next question that I have. And I kind of wanted to just kind of ask you about an introduction to collegiate rec. I think we briefly talked about it, but I love to ask this question in terms of just like where I'm at right now with research. And I ask a lot of questions of like, why do we care? Why is this important? Why should people care about this? And so I'd love to ask you this question, like, why should we care about collegiate recreation? Why do you think it's important to offer collegiate rec to students? And why is it a big deal? Why should we?
Specifically, when we're talking about the sports, so we all know at the top level you have your varsity programs. We all know that, right? But how many students who played sports in high school, you, me, many other people, actually play varsity athletics at the collegiate level? I don't know the percentage. It's not very, very big. So at the top level, you have the collegiate athletics. And at the bottom level, you have intramural sports. Intramural sports gives every student an opportunity to play. You make a team with friends, you sign up for, sand volleyball, you play for 4 weeks, you have fun. The bar of entry is very, very low, very, very easy. There's a little bit of competition, but it's mainly for fun. It's camaraderie, it's exercise, everything like that. And then intramurals, and then the next level you have club sports. Club sports. So I oversaw the club sports at UCM, and I'm going to see them at Broward College. And that's one step up. It's more competitive. So I had a lot of different clubs at UCM. Probably the most consistent and competitive was rugby. I had men's and women's rugby. So intramurals, you're just playing at the same school against everyone that goes to Broward College. That's it. Club sports, you have organized practices. You are a part of organized leagues that could be within the county, the state, or even the region. So our rugby clubs, they were part of the Mid American Conference. I don't remember exactly, but they would play schools from Missouri, from Kansas, from Arkansas, and then they would travel and they would host. So that gives students a more competitive outlet. So they're not good enough to play varsity, and they could still play intramurals, but they want something more. They want something more. They still crave that competition. So that's what club sports gives them. So recreation, so many of us played some type of sport in middle school or high school. So then you're going to get to college, and then you're going to be like, you've been playing basketball since you were 5 years old. You were okay in high school, but you weren't that good. Now you have to stop and you can never play basketball again. That sucks. That's what we provide, the
Hmm.
opportunity to play basketball, to play flag football, to play those other sports, to make friends. Listen, I have a master's in exercise science. I swear I learned more from working intramurals.
Hmm.
uh, Degrees are important. Degrees are important. But I mean, working in the intramural program, playing on intramural teams was just invaluable to me throughout my entire career.
Yeah, I agree. One thing that really stood out to me when you were talking is how some people play intramurals to make friends, some people play it to compete, and I agree. It's really interesting to think because I think a lot of people come from different backgrounds, and different students will want to play intramurals for different reasons. And it actually hits on, do a shameless plug. When I was at UCM doing my master's degree, I did a very I guess just introduction step to research, and I did a research project with one of my advisors about intramurals, looking at the exact same thing you're talking about. And I looked at the differences of why men play intramurals and why women play intramurals. And what was really interesting is that I found that men play intramurals because they want to compete, because they want to play. And that was, which I would agree, generally speaking, is on average could be accurate. Like I remember I didn't play intramurals at UCM because I wanted to make friends. I didn't play because I wanted to socialize. I played because I wanted to play. I wanted to compete. And I loved playing the sport, and I loved playing soccer and flag football. And so I just loved the game and doing it. And it was fun. And what was interesting is I did the same for women, and I asked, why did you play all these things? And it is actually the exact opposite of what, much like you said, is we found that actually women play because they want to socialize, because it's a way for them to make friends and socialize and build camaraderie, teamwork, all this sort of stuff. And the competitiveness is actually a little bit less. It's still there, generally speaking, but it's really interesting to sort of see different types of people and why they want to play. And that's where we get, I think at UCM, we saw this all the time, but like in a recreational softball game, it's like people play it like it's the freaking World Series. And so like some people like get really into it, and
A
it's
little
really
too much,
fun.
you could say sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and exactly. Sometimes it's a little too much, and like fights break out, all these things, and like it's just one of those things. Like, wow, you mentioned we gave away a T-shirt at UCM, but it's like I said, like you'd think that this T-shirt was dipped in gold and it would get you a meeting with the president, but like, like that's not happening. But like, it's just
They
really
put that
funny.
shirt on, they got the bragging rights that they
Yeah.
won because you earn that shirt. Those aren't the free shirts that they give out to anybody. You have to
Hmm.
win and you have to earn that. But even when the guys say they want to compete, I'm sure that's definitely their number one
Right.
priority. And they might not admit it, but they enjoy the camaraderie
Yeah.
aspect and the friendship aspect of it as well. It might not be as important, but they
Yep.
get that as well. And especially for an intramural team, when you're a captain of a team, there's some leadership that is involved with being a captain of an intramural team. You have to organize the team. You have to sign the team up. You have to make sure that your team shows up on time. If you want to be a good captain, you try to organize some practices as well. If it's softball, you're making that lineup. Who's batting first, second, third, and fourth? So there's a lot of time management, leadership skills that they don't even realize they are learning while they are a part of it too.
Yeah, I fully agree. And what's interesting, actually a blast from the past. It makes me think about being a GA, a graduate assistant in intramurals, um, and it's really interesting because like a lot of my communication was like mass emails to all students, but a lot of it was actually one-on-one communication with captains,
Yeah. Yeah.
because like you said, with signing up for intramurals, we need a captain on file, registered in the system, and any sort of communication goes straight through them, and it's all to the captain. And any questions, any conflicts, any like ejections, fights, any whatever goes from captain to us. And that's how you communicate. And it's really cool. I think it's a wonderful, like you said, leadership opportunity because you're speaking on behalf of a team. And to figure out how this all sort of works, like you said, there's a really low threshold to enter and play, but it's still a team. It's still this like camaraderie, still this group effort to play, and we need somebody to be the face of that. And it's really, really cool and interesting. And it sort of gets into this next question I have, but I was wondering if you could briefly paint a picture of what like a day in the life might look like for you. And I know it's dependent on seasons and time, all this stuff, but just generally speaking, like what sort of tasks or duties or responsibilities do you have like right when you get to the office? What are you thinking of doing, and what's on your to-do list?
Well, you're going to check your emails first, right? And again, it all depends on, like you said, where you're at in the semester, where you're at in the season. So at UCM, let's take the beginning of the semester. We're preparing to start everything. So when we're preparing to start, I get there, I'm going to check my emails because who knows what email is going to come in from where about this or that or anything. But we always knew what we needed to do. We have to hire a staff. We have to hire a staff. We have to train the staff. We have to promote. We have to market. So depending on the day, let's say it was the resource fair that day, I'm getting in there, I'm checking my email, and I'm making sure we have all of the materials ready. We have the flyers. We have, hey, sign up for flag football. Hey, sign up for softball. Hey, do you want to be an official? Sign up on this list. So we're making sure we have all of our materials in order. We're making sure we have everything ready to go. Do we have the tent ready? Do we have the t-shirts that we're going to give away ready? Do we have the football and the basketball so our table looks nice? Do we have the tablecloth? So we're getting ready for that specific event. And then we go to the event. That's 2 or 3 hours. We engage, we talk with students, we try to encourage them about the opportunities we have to play or to work. So at the beginning, it's like that we're promoting. And then we move on to, okay, cool. We've promoted. Now we have hired the staff after doing a lot of interviews. Now we have to do the staff training. So we staggered our sports. We didn't start all the sports on the same week. We would start softball one week. We would start football the next week, volleyball the next week, so that we could do our training. So we're training for softball and we're getting that ready. And then the next week we are starting softball. We have the schedules. Like you said, we're communicating with the teams and captains while we're also communicating with our new officials that are going to do flag football. So it's multiple things that are going on in a day, just depending where you're at in a season. And then we had our outdoor season. So we're trying to wrap up playoffs for football and for softball. But then we're about to start our indoor volleyball season as well, right, in October. So we're trying to wrap up playoffs, and then we're trying to train and do the scheduling for those new indoor sports. So there's never really one day, as you know, that was exactly the same. Because then, all right, when we're in the middle of the season, it's a Wednesday, and then we knew we had softball, volleyball, and flag football that happened the night before. All right, well, I'm going to open the clipboard, and we're going to put the score sheets in. We're going to hope we don't see any ejection reports, right? Or any incident reports or anything like that. So then it is inputting, which frankly, the GA did most of
Yep.
that, right? Inputting the things into the system from the night before. and then preparing for the next night. And also at UCM, we were a small staff. We wore many different hats. So while I was there, 8 to 5, I was also a part of the facility supervisors. So it could be 11 o'clock in the morning and I'm preparing for intramurals that night, but I also have to go to the front desk because somebody did not show up to work. So we only had a staff of 4 professionals. So we had to, take care of our area, but then help in that big facility as well. So yeah, no one day was ever really the same on.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah, when you mentioned that's when the GA does. Yeah, I remember sitting at that desk in the
Yeah.
entrance, putting in a bunch of scores, all these things, and putting in all these things, and then getting an email saying, "Oh, the score's wrong," because like you see so many different score sheets, and you like
Yeah.
start to go like wild, and you put in a 9 instead of a 6 or whatever, and it gets flipped, and that's but it's a easy change, easy fix. But I actually wanted to ask this question because I think what I actually didn't think would happen, but something that did is being a GA and working in rec. I actually learned so much about the technical rules of basically every single sport because we had to train the officials. And in order to train the officials, we had to know the rules in order to train them. And so, do you think being working in rec has helped you? I mean, you're also an official yourself, but do you think working in rec specifically has helped you understand rules of sports? Because I feel like there's a lot of moments when I'm like at a party or something like that, and like a thing happens in a game, and they're like, "Oh, they can't do that," and I'm like, "Well, actually, the rule says you can." And so, like, I'm sure there are moments you're like, "Well, yeah." I mean, like, I actually know the rule. You actually can't. And so, I'm curious if you could speak on that.
That's hilarious that you mentioned that because like I said, I officiated pretty much every sport. Um, I think one of my father-in-law's favorite things about me, not how well I treat his daughter, no, it's that if we're watching a football game, and this has happened multiple times, we're watching a football game and there's a flag thrown, and before the ref even reports the penalty, I'm like, that's holding on
Holding.
15. Yeah, that's gonna be 10 yards. They're gonna replay the down. And he's like, how how did you how did you know that? I'm like, you do it for so long. I just,
Yeah, you catch it.
I started watching the officials more than the actual players, or just as much, and understanding their movements and everything. So yeah, so I would see it coming, I would talk, and he's amazed. Like, there's plays we're not even in the same house, and he's watching. Gosh, it was during the World Series. I think they called a runner interference. I wasn't even
Hmm.
watching it. He called me. He's like, "Are you watching the World Series? This just happened. What is this? Blah blah blah." And I'm like, "Well, yeah. If the runner interfered with the defender's opportunity to field the ball, then yeah, that runner's out automatically." And it's like, blew his
Yeah.
mind that I didn't even see the
Whoa.
play, and I knew what it was. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's almost to a fault because part of me can't even enjoy watching a game right now. I'm just like, oh, that's a yeah. So,
That's
and
a foul.
I'm a retired official. I am retired. I no longer officiate, but yes, when I was in Missouri, I did high school basketball, baseball, softball, and volleyball. That's obviously on top of all of the trainings for staff and officials while working at UCM.
Yeah, I feel like it's really funny because like when you say that it is to a fault because there are moments where I'm like sitting enjoying this baseball game or this football game and they call a flag and I'm like, oh, I saw it. I know exactly what it is because you just see like when you officiate, you just see the game differently and you see the technical parts of the game instead of I wouldn't say it definitely didn't ruin my like viewpoint of sports. I still love sports, but like when you become an official, you actually see a different side of the game and you see it from a different perspective. And I actually reason with officials a lot more now because I can see what happens and you're like, all right, as an official, what would I have done? And like in the split second moment, like it's really hard to make decisions like that. And like one of the funniest ones that I remember is I think you told me this is called the blarge in basketball is the block charge when like
Yep.
when something happens
Yep.
so quick and you're like no, and you're like doing the blarge and so like you just don't know. And it's funny when like I'm watching basketball, and that happens, I can sometimes see it a hesitation in the ref I'm like, oh, he doesn't know what he's gonna call here. And so
You
it's
just
just
got to
really
be
funny.
confident. You got to go with one of them. What you
Yep.
got to go with one of them. Don't.
Gotta pick
There's
one.
the blarge
Yep.
in basketball, and what I've also seen now. I swear I have not done this myself in baseball. I swear, but I
Yeah.
remember I was working one varsity baseball game. I'm behind the plate, and my partner was in the field, and it was in the very first inning, and it was a close play at first, and he went out.
Oh.
And I'm like, oh. It
Oh
was a
no.
very long game. So,
Yep.
but that was a good thing about officiating high school sports in Missouri. And I actually started officiating varsity sports when I was still in Ohio, when I was still in college. But you learn a lot. So when part of my job was hiring students and training officials and evaluating officials, I could speak on a lot of experience of what I had done right, but really things I had done wrong to try to make those teaching moments for those student officials to hopefully learn from my mistakes or
Yeah.
other mistakes I've seen from partners.
Right. I agree, and I'm gonna go out on a limb here, and I think officiating. I'm not gonna say you have to be an actor, but I think you have to be very confident in your
Oh
calls,
yeah,
and even if you make a call and you in your head you're like that was wrong, because there are many moments I remember reffing intramural sports and recreation. I'm like, I'm gonna call this, and right when I call, I'm like, that's wrong. That's so wrong. But I'm like, well, I this is my grave. I've gotta dig it. I've got to keep going, and and so you have to act and be confident and just sell it. And you have to be like, yeah, that's the call. See, that's what that is. What it is. I blew the whistle.
there's no
What do you want me
challenge.
to do?
There's
Yeah,
no challenge system.
there's no VAR here, so this is not the Champions League. This is intramural sports. So that's really funny. I wanted to then kind of follow up to that with a question about job opportunities. And I know you talked about NERSA and sort of what they offer and different like types of programs, but I'm curious if you could talk a little bit in like what job opportunities exist. I guess just for maybe for undergrads, for
Hmm.
grads, like I know undergrads maybe officiating, grad assistants, and then for full time. I'm wondering if you could touch up base a little bit on that.
Hmm. Well, if we're talking about jobs for undergrads, almost every single school has some type of recreation facility. And
Mm-hmm.
they're going to need people, like I said before, to work the front desk. They're going to need people to work the rock climbing wall for the outdoors. They're going to need people to officiate the sports. They're going to need people to teach the fitness classes. I mean, some schools have outdoor rope courses. So, depending on the size of the school and the size of the recreation department, there are a lot of jobs for undergraduates to get involved, get their foot in the door, like you did and like I did. When it comes to graduate school, just like we both did, graduate assistantships are phenomenal because you get paid a little bit of money, not a lot of money. You get paid a little bit of
Yep.
money, but your master's degree is free. I mean, to get a free master's degree like we both did save us from a lot of debt, especially with how expensive things are nowadays. That you can't really, well, you can measure it, I guess, but it's an amazing benefit. And then after you get your master's degree, you can, if you wanted to stay in the field of recreation, you have different opportunities. Nathan, you went and did what? City recreation, right?
Yep.
When you were
Yep.
in Memphis. So you were working with more kids and parents and things like that. So there's opportunities in that. There's YMCA's, community centers, things like that. And I worked in collegiate recreation. So there are coordinator positions. I was an assistant director. There are director positions, associate directors, and now I'm actually a senior director, which if I would have stayed at UCM, I never would even have gotten to this high of a title where I'm at now. And the reason why my title right now is Senior Director of Student Recreation Activities instead of just Director, how we have it at Broward College, is I oversee all of the campuses when it comes to recreation. I'm not just the Director of Recreation at Central, I'm the Senior Director over all of Broward College campuses. So there are a lot of opportunities to start small and to scale.
Yeah, that's interesting. What did you go to a specific website? Did you go to a specific place to find these jobs? Because I know in professional sports and competitive sports, there's a website called Teamwork Online, and that
Oh, yes.
has like professional sports. You know, if you want to work for the Bulls, the Chicago Bulls, that will be on there. If you want to work for the Chiefs, that would be on there. But in terms of like recreation, is there a specific spot that you know of that students can find these opportunities?
Mhm. Generally, when you're looking at an undergrad, maybe you're a sophomore in college right now, it's just going to be your university website. There's going to be a job portal on just the university website. You can look for jobs as an undergraduate. For graduate assistantships and for most professional jobs, there's a website called bluefishjobs.com. That's bluefishjobs.com. That is powered by NERSA, the professional organization. And that's where not all, right? Not all. Literally, this Broward College one was only posted on the Broward College website. But the majority of collegiate recreation jobs do get posted on bluefishjob.com. That's where I found my internship. That's where I found my first professional job at UCM. That is where I have posted when I was looking for GAs. That's where I posted, and that's when I interviewed. So yeah, bluefishjobs.com, not just for intramurals and club sports, but you will find fitness positions on there, outdoor recreation positions on there, facility positions. So anything with collegiate recreation, bluefishjobs.com is going to be one stop shop.
Yeah. We should I should reach out to Bluefish and be like, hey, sponsor this episode.
Get a plug.
Yeah, get a plug in there. That's really cool. That I really agree with what you said with the master's degree. And I think one of the one of the only reasons, one of the main reasons, obviously I liked enjoyed working under you, but that I went back to be a GA was because the master's was paid for. And I think that goes, I think it's extremely important to think about that when students want to think of higher ed. And I think in terms of collegiate recreation, I think this is one of the areas that I would argue not a lot of students probably have this on their radar. And now being an instructor and a PhD student where I'm in a classroom with students, I have shared Bluefish Jobs and Teamwork Online countless times. And generally speaking, a lot of students don't know they exist. And so, but they probably play intramurals. They know intramurals is there. They know they probably play flag football, all this stuff, but they don't know about Bluefish Jobs and the fact that you can go to almost any university and get your master's paid for, and you also get a stipend. And like you said, the stipend, obviously, you're not going to be making six figures. It's it's enough to get by, but you're also getting your master's paid for. And I try to vouch for that. If anyone wants to pursue their master's, is to get it paid for. And you could work for the
Yes.
intramural department, you could work for facilities, you could work for as a fitness GA, facility GA, intramural GA, outdoor pursuits GA. There's so many different opportunities in rec that is there that I think is an untapped market. Not a lot of students know it's there. And so this is the plug. Maybe I'll need to reach out to Bluefish and be like, hey, sponsor this episode.
And we would always do that. I would always go talk at UCM, as you obviously know,
Mm-hmm.
to the different sport management classes. And one of my plugs, because everybody as a sport management major, they want to work for the Chiefs or they want to work for the Cardinals or whoever,
Mm-hmm.
and that's great. That's fantastic. But there's a lot of opportunity in sports besides just professional sports. So, like you said, a lot of them were already playing intramural sports. Um, the last GA I hired, Adam, before I left, I went to one of his classes. You were probably there with me actually.
Yeah.
I spoke and he came up afterwards. He's like, wait, what is this? What is this GA position?
Mm-hmm.
Explained it to him, hired him to work as an official for that last semester. Did a great job. Hired him eventually to do the GA. And then when I left, he graduated and he took over. And he's the assistant director there at UCM now. So just making students aware, right? Aware of all the different opportunities that are possible to them.
Right. I agree. And I think that what also goes with that is the leadership opportunities in recreation with NERSA. And I actually was blessed to work in NERSA as the Missouri State Student Leader. And so each was it North America or is it just U.S.? The U.S. is sectioned into regions, and we were in region
North America. Canada was in there too.
Okay. I think Missouri, I think it was region 6. I think it was region 6. Either region 4 or 6. I think that's
No, it was region 4 because region 1
4.
started on the East Coast.
Okay.
2, 3. We were 4.
4. Okay.
Yeah,
I had
6
one
would
of
have
those
been
numbers right.
the West Coast. Yeah.
I had one of them
You
right.
got there
And that was really, yeah.
got there eventually.
Yeah. And I think what's really cool about that is like, I guess to also uncover something really cool, the leadership opportunities with that is you can serve as a state student leader. And so I had to actually talk to a bunch of different universities in Missouri and ask them what they are doing at their rec department, what programs they're offering, what trends do they see, how many people are they hiring, all these things, all these statistics and data, and then go back to NERSA in a regional meeting and talk with the regional advisor and represent the state of Missouri and what Missouri is doing in terms of rec. And so there's regional roles, national roles, all these things available. There's scholarships and funds and grants available with NERSA. And so there's a lot of opportunities that like we talked about, I think is sort of there, but I don't think a lot of people know that it's there. It's such an untapped market that I think for those that are like in sport management or just business marketing, whatever, can go into rec and intramurals and sort of find their footing, much like you did. And so that moves us into another section. I wanted to ask you about sort of the benefits and drawbacks, maybe like a pros and cons of working in collegiate rec, and sort of what it might be just collegiate rec in general, and just looking at what's the benefits and drawbacks of working in this sort of area.
Oh, hi, dog. Oh, doggy just came.
Yeah, it's okay.
Oh,
My puppy.
One of the benefits is also the same as one of the drawbacks. It's great working with college students. It's really a great opportunity, but sometimes, frankly, it can be a little frustrating too. So one of the biggest benefits is working with college students, helping develop college students, seeing them grow, mature, and advance.
Mm-hmm.
One of the frustrating things is maybe sometimes they got a little attitude, right?
Yeah.
Pros and cons. But when you're working with students and you're helping develop students and you can see that growth, you see how they came in as an immature 18-year-old, and after 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years for some people, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can see where they started and how far they have come since then. And then you could talk to them on a podcast. How many years later? How many
Oh
years
man, I
later
think I
has it
started
been?
UCM in 2018. So it's almost 10 years now at this point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's seen its growth. One of the more, I don't know, actual downsides is you need to be realistic about your salary. And that's not just collegiate recreation, that's higher education in general. There's a lot of pros, there's a lot of great things with working in higher education. But if you want to make, like I said earlier, 6 figures, well, you're going to have to be a vice president, right? It's going to take a long time to get there, but it's not that much different than working in professional sports, right?
Right.
You start somewhere in professional sports, you're going to be low on the totem pole. You're not going to be making that much money either. So you just have to be realistic coming out of college, coming out of grad school, of what the salary is going to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. And I think that's something that I think as now that I'm back in the classroom, being on I guess on the dark side now. I actually see it as the good side, but I'll just say it's a dark side for this case. But like being in front of students and being in the classroom with them, like I try to be as open and upfront about salary as possible, because the sport, like you said, with working in sports, you normally have to, like you said, move up the totem pole. And your first job out of college, you're not going to make a lot of money. And I think what's actually really funny is my stipend here at Illinois, I think is almost the exact same, maybe even more than what I made in the city of Memphis as a full time. I think I made in city of Memphis, I think it was like 32 a year, something like that. And it was, granted, it was also a city employee. So I had city employee benefits, the IRA, the pension, the fund was awesome, great healthcare, all this stuff. But like you said, the salary isn't going to be, insane. But also we had a city vehicle, so I never had to drive my car anywhere we went. So I saved on gas. So like there's trade-offs. Do you make a ton of money? Not initially.
I
But
would
I
hope at
think
this point that job's not 32,000 anymore
no,
at a way
I'm sure
inflation's
it's a
gone
little bit
up.
more. I guess that ages me a little bit, but it just goes to show, I think, to be honest about salary, like working in sports is such a beautiful thing. But unfortunately, when the first 5 to 10 years, it's not gonna be six figures. It's not gonna be what, this glamorous thing. You sort of have to move your way up the system. And so I think being upfront honest about that just helps students not assume that they're just automatically going to make like 80 grand out of school. And that's just not realistic because, like you said, rec programs don't make money. So, like, if rec program doesn't make money, do you think they're really going to pay directors and like your coordinators, stuff like that, like a ton of money? Like, probably not. It's because they're not bringing in revenue. So, um,
And that's why it's also great to look at that Bluefish Jobs website
yeah,
because not all the jobs, but the majority of the jobs will have a salary range. So
yeah,
you could just look there to see what a intramural coordinator at, I don't know, the University of Tennessee pays or whatever. So
mhm,
you can look and it does vary across the country
yeah.
as well. So it's good just for research purposes if you're even considering this field.
Yeah, yeah, I really agree, and that sort of transitions us to the final section of my questions here. Um, my question is, what is the future of college rec? I'm curious if you have any thoughts of maybe where you think collegiate rec is going. Have you seen any trends over the last few years of being in this industry? Where do you think, do you think, like I know, flag football has actually transcended out of intramurals and become now it's now in the Olympics. It's now a professional league. They're
Never
starting
would have
to.
thought that. Never would have
I wouldn't
thought
have
that
either.
before.
And so maybe like also with pickleball, that probably started off as rec, and now it's this whole national thing. And so, like, what sort of trends do you see with working in collegiate rec, and what do you think the future looks like?
Most important trend that we've seen and we've known coming for the last probably decade isn't just with collegiate rec, it's with higher education and enrollments. So I know a lot of schools right now are experiencing lower enrollment for a variety of reasons. There's been a lot of studies out there, lower birth rates, less students graduating from high school, a lot of reasons. So we can be excited about recreation, but we have to look at higher education as a whole. And higher education as a whole, um, the numbers are trending downwards. So that is concerning. But if the numbers are trending downward, we still need to provide services and opportunities for those students that are there. But that also means we're going to have less money in our budget to provide those. So we have to be very aware of our budget and I don't know, squeeze every dime that we have. We really can't waste anything. And that's why it's really important in collegiate recreation and some of the stuff that you did. We can't just say, hey, we're playing flag football, we're playing basketball, the students are having fun. Cool, don't cut my job. We
Yeah.
need to provide data, data, data to the powers that be. Not only that, and I did this at UCM, not only, oh, we had, I don't know, 40 flag football teams with 483 participants, blah, 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 but we've given out surveys like agree or disagree that participating in intramurals has increased your time management skills or things like that. So just providing the data points to the powers that be that prove that what we are doing, it is important, it does matter, and it does add value. So I think besides just the sports, I just think that is a trend that we're seeing in higher education in general. Because listen, they're going to be looking to cut budgets because of that, right? And there's even I've read articles about some schools might have to close because of that. So I don't want to be Debbie Downer here, right? But that's just something that we really realistically need to think about and need to
Yeah.
budget and need to strategically plan for. For the sports, yeah, pickleball. Wow.
Yeah. That is the future. I think that maybe spike ball will, I kind of don't think so just because it's not as, I think pickleball got really big because it's so elderly friendly. Maybe that's controversial for me to say, but like it's so popular amongst elderly communities and it's easier for them to play. And I think if we can cater the pickleball to older communities and older populations, like it's gonna blow up. It's gonna blow up, and so it got so popular.
That's how it started. Like it
Yeah,
started with more experienced
yeah,
people, you know. So,
more
but it
seasoned.
is
Yeah,
it is absolutely trickled down.
yep.
Absolutely. We have a pickleball club at Broward College. Now,
Oh,
earlier when I was mentioning the North Campus does not have a gym, there is a gym. There's actually an arena, a pretty nice one, but because they got rid of athletics during COVID, a pickleball company called Diadem actually leases that space out. And now I think there's, oh, I don't know, 18 different pickleball courts in
oh
there.
my gosh.
I have gone and played pickleball in there. Are there some individuals in their, 60s and 70s? Absolutely. Are there a lot of people in their 20s and 30s in there too? Yes. Yes. Yes, there are. So, especially down here in South Florida, pickleball is getting even bigger. And
Mm,
yeah, we just got to listen to the students. I would say esports is a big thing, right? So yeah, we love soccer, we love flag football, and a lot of people do, but esports is also big already and probably going to get even bigger.
yeah, I agree. I think well, that is another form of rec that I think will get bigger, and I think that'll also start to be included in collegiate rec programs and start doing esports and things like that. And so I think that's a really cool thing of where technology and video games are going to go in the future, and if it's going to be included, like maybe in the future there'll be like varsity sports, there'll be varsity Rocket League or something, varsity League of Legends or something. I don't know. And I'm sure at some
I
point
mean,
something will.
we have an esport club. We
Yeah.
have an esport club. So UCM had an esport club. So and then we just have like recreational esports where they can come to Broward College and they can check their ID in. We have different computers that they could just come and play randomly as well. And I know UCM, and I haven't been there because they did it after I left, but they opened a brand new like esports lounge as well.
Wow.
I would love to go back and check it out. And I've heard really good things about it. So
That's
yeah,
cool.
yeah, that's the esports is gonna get even bigger, I would think.
Yeah, I totally agree. Well, that concludes all the questions I had for you, Kevin. Thank you so much for taking the time to sit with me and go down memory lane a bit with our experience back in Missouri. I won't say the years because we want to preserve our age, but
So Nathan, I
um,
have a question for you, Nathan. I have a question for
oh,
you.
here we go.
Tell me, what was your best memory of working at UCM for me, and also your worst memory of working at UCM for me?
um, I would say the best memory. That's a good question. I would say the best memory. I I just really liked working with all the different sports and being. I really enjoyed the fact that you gave me a lot of responsibility as a GA, and I really loved that, and it was really cool. And this is something I'd love to hit on with the GA and the responsibilities of GAs is like really leaning into that leadership role, and also like you said earlier is I actually like, yeah, I have this master's degree, but I agree. I actually learned a lot more being a GA than I did in the classroom. And I think my favorite thing is you kind of like, we're like, all right, Nathan, like, here's the reins, you do it. It's like obviously not like that, but it's sort of like a go spread your wings and fly, like, and fail on your own, and we'll figure out how to do it together as a team. And so I really enjoyed that, and it helped me learn a lot more on the job, and it prepared me a lot more in the future. And I think the worst part, I think, was much like you said, the downsides of it is like I love working with college students now where I'm at, but it's also the exact same of the downside is college students, like you said, some have attitudes, some don't care. Just generally, their level of care is really low. And so when you need to get something done, when you need to email about ejections or email about specific things, and like you don't get a response, you don't get anything, you try call nothing, like no college, like they just don't want to answer because they're probably out drinking a beer somewhere or whatever. They're being a college student, and I get it. It's totally fine. But I think being in and around college students is so great, but it also has its downsides. And I think that was the biggest downside is, and I think the most fun, I would say one of the most fun part, even though this is not like the best part of intramurals in sports, but the conflicts were fun for me. The arguments and like that sort of stuff, because it was just really funny for me to see like what made college students really mad and angry within recreation. And I would sit there listening to them arguing. I'm like, is this really that serious? Like, is this that serious
in the
for us
moment? Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And
In
it's
that
really funny
moment.
to just see and experience like what level of care. There's so many different levels in working with college students, and like one game, you're going to have one college student argue about the same thing you did the next game, and nobody's going to say a thing. And so it's like, it's just so funny. And I'm like, oh, that's so interesting. Like, why? And it's just because you're with college students, everybody's different. And, and that's fun. And to go on that, to build off that with the fun part, I remember we talked about this before we recorded, but with intramurals, you can actually send teams from your school to the NERSA national conferences. And we sent one of our flag football teams to NERSA. I think it was I don't remember the year. It was a while ago. We sent them off, and they actually got into a fight, and they got ejected and disqualified from the tournament and got sent back home. So that part is like that's like, obviously you don't want that, but like it's just fun to deal with that sort of stuff. Like, oh, okay, like now I have to figure out who did what and why, all this stuff, and like problem solving, conflict resolution. I just found it was fun and exciting. And it's just fun also to listen to college students of like, well, why the fight started, all these things, and hear their account. And so, yeah, that's a very long-winded answer to that question.
Good to know. Thank you.
It's just never, like you said, never a dull day working with college students, because there's always going to be like either an argument over a ref, an argument over a score, or like you're going to have these really fun, laid back conversations with students, and you connect with them really well. And like, it's just really
so
fun.
much more of that. Like, it's so much more. It's so much more of the laid back, good conversations, good. And like, it's so much more of that. But occasionally you do get the other thing, like you were saying. But it's not like a 50-50 or anything like that. There's so many more positive reactions. Because if there wasn't, I would not be doing this 20 however many years later it's been.
just some years. And to go off that, like being a GA, I remember we didn't have enough refs to ref, and so I had to ump softball. And I don't think I ever told you this, but I brought my dog Tucker out to the fields to ump with me, and like all the teams loved him, and it was just so fun to like ump these softball games. Tucker was there on the benches and the dugouts with the other teams, and they were having fun. He was like a mascot for the games, and like you said, it makes it so much more fun, and people are having fun. Is really cool. And so like I said, that does outweigh the bad, generally speaking. But unfortunately, like we normally only remember like the conflict, like the bad stuff. sometimes it's hard to remember all the good when you just like
Yeah.
hit on the
Yeah.
bad. So,
Yeah.
but I totally agree. There's a lot of good of working in rec. Highly recommend those out there interested to check it out. And Kevin, thank you again for sitting down with me and scrolling through memory lane and talking about our experiences in rec. And I'm excited to hopefully down the road have this conversation again and hear what you've been doing at Broward and see where your life takes you.
Absolutely. Would love to come back on, tell you how successful we were in our very first fall semester with all of our new programs.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. Hope you all enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.